Evening, everybody, and welcome to RFL. I'm Richard French. Now, we are right in the thick of yet another nor'easter, second one less than a week. Thousands of people still without power from the last storm, and both residents and local leaders, they are livid with Edison in the Hudson Valley. In a few minutes, we're going to speak to someone from ConEd to give them a chance to respond. We'll also talk to one of the power company's biggest critics, Westchester County Executive George Latimer. And a little later, we'll go across the river, if you will. We'll talk with New Jersey Governor Phil Murphy. He'll fill us in on how Jersey is dealing with the storm and also issues it has with a particular utility. But first, Fox 1 meteorologist Joe Chaffee. He's here tracking the storm. Joe?
Well, Richard, quite a busy day with respect to snow amounts in northern New Jersey getting hit particularly hard with some places up over a foot like Franklin, Verona, Mahwah, Randolph, all with 12 inches or more. It's kind of tricky. White Plains officially at the airport a couple of hours ago only had 2 inches. It's easily doubled that now, and there are places in the Hudson Valley that have every bit of 7, 8, 9, 10 inches. Coastal New Jersey, not too much happening there. We still have winter storm warnings up for the Hudson Valley, northern New Jersey, and for Long Island, at least for Nassau and the western half of Suffolk County. And we've got advisories for the South Jersey counties because they've been getting hit with some bands of heavy snow. We had lightning and thunder. We're probably going to be coming to an end here in terms of the snowfall in the next 2 or 3 hours. The back edge is beginning to pivot around and moving southeastward. A bit of a dry slot over Long Island, but that's going to, again, see one more shot of snow as this area in New Jersey moves overhead. The Hudson Valley snows will start sinking southeastward. We're probably going to put down another several inches or more in a few places before it's all said and done, and then weather conditions will start to genuinely improve overnight. Richard.
Joe, thank you very much, and we'll check in on the weather before the hour's out. But I want to bring in Andrew Whitman right now. He's going to take a look at power outages and the reaction. Andrew, this isn't just about today, obviously, as many people know at home. We're talking 5 days, people without power, and then you add on top of it the nor'easter.
Yeah, and we're going to go around our region, Rich, and we'll start in the Hudson Valley, where more than 50,000 homes were without power before today's snowstorm. Those outages stemming from the last storm on Friday. Right now, Hudson Valley utilities are reporting about 42,000 customers without power, numbers that are almost certain to rise, including more than 20,000 ConEd customers in the valley in the dark and in the cold tonight. To New Jersey, where they're being hit hard by the storm, more than 56,000 Garden State residents in our region out of power, including nearly 45,000 JCP&L customers alone. And to Long Island, spared the biggest impact of today's storm. It's also got the fewest power outages. Just over 7,300 PSE&G Long Island customers are off the grid right now. All those outages, including those who never got their power back after Friday's storm, has residents scrambling and upset, and it has elected officials livid. Among them, Governor Cuomo, who called the response from the utilities totally absurd and unacceptable. He's also ordered a state review of the storm cleanup, including why the utilities appeared to be so unprepared and why the recovery has taken so long. And in Westchester, Democratic Executive George Latimer today went from being critical of ConEd and other utilities to being flat out angry. And our cameras were rolling as Latimer gave ConEd a piece of his mind.
We're done. I'm going to call together the elected officials of these communities. We're going to call for resignations of senior management. I've listened to enough. We've put up with enough. If this were the way our world works, if I was in charge, I'd be voted out of office every second or fourth year. If I was, as I once was, an employee of Nestle or ITT, I'd be brought in and be fired. We're all tired of these excuses. There are human beings out there. We're giving statistics instead of real-world services. So we're going to have a joint conference on Friday, and you're going to hear the unified voice of Westchester County, not just the county government, all of these municipalities that have been frustrated, one after the other after the other. That's all I have to say.
An emotional Westchester County executive there. We'll hear more from George Latimer in just a moment. But first, Fios 1's Ray Ramundi has been tracking social media and some of the anger aimed directly at ConEd. Ray?
Richard, the backlash against the utility companies, in particular ConEd, has been relentless and fierce on Twitter. From those calling for the resignation of the ConEd CEO to accusing the utility company of actually lying, the tweets have been nonstop and are ongoing. There's this tweet from Don which says, "Con Edison, my 85-year-old mom has no heat and no power in Rye for days now. Your website said it would be on last night at 11. Now it says the 9th. No number for her to call for help." And then there's Chad, who tweets this. Con Edison, day 6 Con Ed, done working for the day. Hope to have power back by Friday at this point. Can't wait to wake up from this nightmare. Con Ed is a total joke. Hashtag Con Ed, total fail. Hashtag shameful, simply shameful. Meanwhile, Lizanne tweeted this. We have been consistently lied to by staff at the call center or told our power will be restored. Power off since Saturday. I feel sorry for the call center staff. Clearly, management instructed them to lie. Finally, there's Tamar, who tweets this. There's a thunder snowstorm going on, and my parents have been without heat since Friday in New Rochelle, New York, because a single tree hasn't been removed so that power could be restored by Con Edison. Good job, and why? Con Ed now faces a public relations nightmare, and you could bet the utility company will be working in the coming days and weeks to rebuild a reputation that, as of now, has been tarnished. Richard?
I'll take it, Ray, and thank you very much as we toss it back to Rich.
And now let's bring in Con Edison spokesperson Philip O'Brien. He joins us on the phone here to respond. Philip, I just want to get your answer. We've been inundated with really frustrated customers. And yesterday at a press conference that we carried live with your CEO, Mr. McAvoy said, among other things, that there's nothing, I'm quoting here directly, nothing I would categorize as a mistake or a failure. He also went on to say, we get it. I guess my question directly is, seriously? Nothing that you'd categorize as a mistake or a failure? 5 days later, is that what we're telling residents and customers of Con Edison?
Any situation, a natural calamity, a ball game, a grade school, all have a post-mortem in which you look back and say, what did we do right and what did we do wrong? There has not been an opportunity for that as of yet, because the first storm that battered us last weekend has just ebbed, and now a second one comes right up on its tail and is taxing all of us again. And
due respect, Philip, you're not the only utility that's dealing with the storm right now, and we've seen very different outcomes in handling of customers. Acutely, the criticism is directly to you. You've got the governor of the state of New York demanding an investigation. You've got the county executive of Westchester calling for firings across the board here at Con Ed out of ineptitude. And more than that, there's a palpable level of frustration on the part of the customers that not only was there not good planning involved here, but they have been misled on the process. I want to give you two of your customers out of hundreds of tweets we've gotten in here and give you a chance to respond. The first one is from Letitia, who says, Con Edison, I'm not sure why I'm paying so much for so little customer service. 5 days without power, and we keep on seeing crews come and go. Reassigning a crew, really? Not to mention someone sitting in a car every day and doing nothing. Can I have that job? Fail. Con Ed fail. The next one is Liz Ann, who says, Con Edison, liar, pants on fire. My power off since Saturday, and your managers clearly instructed call center staff to lie to customers like me regarding repair work. Con Edison fail, shame on you. To that point, we've had numerous people who've said they go on the website, they see their homes that are reflective that power has been reestablished not once, not twice, but 3 times when it hasn't been reestablished once. They're promised they'll see somebody within a matter of hours. It's days and they still haven't seen a human being from Con Ed. Do you understand that people, yes, there's a calamity, but they feel they've been lied to?
They have been anything but lied to. There has been, as you said, a calamity. We ourselves are ranking it as the 5th worst storm in our history. It was right up there. It's right behind Sandy and Irene. And those were major calamities in our area. And we are trying to get everybody, and remember, these are our friends and neighbors and our co-workers in Westchester and the other areas. We're all in this together. We all live here. And we want to make this correct as soon as we can. We are being buffeted by Mother Nature and other causes, and we are trying to deal with it. For instance, if I may, we have a veritable army of crews that has been working since last night into today that now is too quickly being slowed down because of today's storm. and they will not be able to get back to work until the go-ahead is made that the storm has stopped and it is safe. You can't, for instance, go up in a bucket to an overhead wire in winds of 40 miles an hour.
Philip, I didn't think that was a possibility today. The questions that everyone are posing is the run-up to the storm of last week and the misinformation many people have gotten subsequent to that. Did you have enough people before the first storm hit? And if you did have the manpower, why has it been so inefficient restoring power to so many people?
It is because of the size and the scope and the spread of this storm in an area that is predominantly suburban and heavily forested with trees. And when those tree limbs go down and a road is impassable, it also is impassable for Edison.
Philip, it's Andrew Whitman. After you mentioned Hurricane Sandy or Superstorm Sandy, after that, the state organized a Moreland Commission with several findings for your industry and for ConEd directly. One was better communication with residents, which obviously has not happened. The second was reducing the reliance on mutual assistance, bringing in people from other parts of the country, better staffing levels, and coming up with better plans and cross-training personnel. Has that stuff been done by ConEd in the 5+ years since Superstorm Sandy?
Yes, we initiated a 4-year plan right after Sandy occurred and carried that through with all of those things that you mentioned. The idea of mutual assistance is an established reliance within the energy industry, and I would add that it is mutual assistance that helped save the city of Houston. It is mutual assistance that is bringing Puerto Rico back so it can stand on its own.
Understood, Philip. And despite the fact that the Moreland Commission encouraged ConEd and other utilities to find other mechanisms other than mutual assistance. One other question. In 2017, ConEd raised rates 7%. According to your reports, their fourth quarter profit was more than $500 million. That's just in the fourth quarter of 2017. Has ConEd spent the money required to prevent the problems that we saw after the last nor'easter, much less combined with the fact that we've got the snowstorm today?
Yes, and equally easy research would have shown you that we have spent $1 billion on the post-Sandy recovery efforts, as mandated by the Public Service Commission.
Philip, I know you're busy. You guys are having a lot, obviously, to deal with right now. But I got to tell you that the palpable sense of frustration, yes, is for the obvious, but also the total absence of contrition, it seems, from ConEd, that you guys think you've done everything you possibly can. And, hey, people should just accept that Mother Nature was tough to us last week and today, and all those people without power, hey, this is the best we can do. It ain't just me giving you criticism. I mentioned officials here who want your guys' heads here, and a lot of people's jobs to roll as a consequence for that. You guys don't feel that you've done anything wrong up to this point? You've done the best you really can do?
You know, all those words like contrition and doing the best we can, they come after we get everybody back up. We remain focused on the recovery and the restoration from what is now 2 successive storms back to back. After we get everybody back, we can talk about contrition and moving ahead and new methods.
I'll give you free advice. That's not what customers want to hear right now, that we're doing everything we can and people shouldn't expect more. Frankly, they are right now and they're not getting it, but we shall see. Philip, I appreciate a few minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Joining us now, Westchester County Executive George Latimer. Listen, obviously we showed you have made it no secret. You're frustrated as well with ConEd. I'll only say I've been doing this for a long time. I have seen few issues that have united people, regardless of politics or anything else, as to the frustration. Not just because they've lost power, but what's happened since they've lost power. And you're closer than I am. Why do you want people to lose their jobs at ConEd?
Richard, it didn't happen overnight. It built to this point. We're 5 days, 6 days into a situation. I was out from Friday night on, the night of that the windstorm hit, and I saw devastation right off the bat. So this wasn't the next day you on somebody's head. But we watched how the utility responded. And here's the problem. Once you realized after Saturday and Sunday that what you were doing wasn't working, that's when a management team steps in and says, we need to do something differently. I've been on conference calls every day with local mayors and supervisors. Every single community, the mayor or the supervisor says, we haven't seen any trucks in our community. We have priority projects. And on the other end of the line, you hear, oh, okay, well, give us a call. We'll see what we can do. The next day, it's the same thing. What happens to change, you don't wait until after the event is over. If what you're doing isn't working, intelligent management says you adjust in the middle of the game. Every good business does that. I spent 20 years working for corporations, and that's what you would do. And what they should have done is they should have partnered with the mayors and the supervisors, prioritize the projects in each community, not hold all the cards to themselves, not parse out the information. People can make intelligent decisions if they have information. Somebody who has an option, they have a relative 100 miles away. If they knew they're going to be out for 4 or 5 days, they could stay with the relative. But you tell them it's coming. No, it's coming the day after that. No, it's going to come the day after that. And they make decisions based on your misinformation.
Did they wait too long to ask for help?
Yes.
Apparently the reporting is this mutual aid where you ask everybody and their brother to send the cavalry to help from other different utilities. They waited till almost the storm hit before they asked for help.
Mutual aid has been terrific. I went down on Sunday night to see the crews that came in from Indiana and Wisconsin, brought them some cookies, and terrific men that have come across the country to help us. I have no gripe with them. In fact, I have no problem with the ConEd workers who were out there in hostile conditions trying to set people back up. It's the way they've been deployed that is what's wrong. And that's why my argument is with management. It's not with the workers. And I think what's happened is, and you heard the ConEd spokesman talk about there's a time for contrition. No, when you see things aren't going right, you begin the process of changing your strategy when you admit that you haven't done something efficiently and you're going to adjust it right now. When you don't show contrition, then you magnify the error by continuing in the direction that you're going in. And I have to tell you that it's frustration that's not expressed by me. It's expressed by, as you rightly pointed out, the consumers of the product, by the local officials, DPW people. They have men and women available to chop up the trees once the crew gets out to cut off the wires. They don't exactly know when that's going to happen. If they had coordination at the local level, they'd be able to be there, Johnny, on the spot and move more quickly.
Is this a communication problem, you think? Or do you think, from your sense from the ConEd, do you think they know what they're doing in terms of figuring out what to prioritize to get the power back on?
I think they made a basic decision, which is we're not going to share the process that we go through. We're not going to share how we prioritize which site we're going to put up. We're going to make those decisions. We're not going to prioritize to you, the consumer, the information you need. We're going to give it to you. We're going to parcel it out piece by piece. It's almost as if I'm feeding you one morsel at a time rather than here's the plate and you make the decision.
Hey, listen, they don't owe me, I'm the media guy, they don't owe me anything except we needed to communicate to viewers and Con Edison customers what was going on and what was the latest. I will tell you, we dealt with no less than 7 different utilities throughout this storm. 6 of them, you tell us when, we'll tell you the answers, we'll communicate the latest numbers, etc. The one outlier was ConEd. Literally, we were at their New York City offices and threatened to go on the air because they wouldn't have somebody come downstairs and even talk to us to give us answers. To that point, is it mismanagement, to Andrew's point, or is it something worse? And by that I mean, I can't tell you the amount of people, county executive, that said they not only gave me a time they said they'd come and they didn't come, but they reflected my power was reestablished, changing the numbers for the people who now have power when it never happened whatsoever, and people had to call the utility and say, put me back on the non-powered list because no one's come, I still am in the dark, I still have no heat. Which one is it?
Well, what you pointed out is accurate. It's incompetence in terms of the way it communicated with the public. And when you look at the website, you put up the website, you say, go to the website, it'll give you information. You go to the website and the information you have is flat out inaccurate. When I was trying to assess, by working with our emergency operations center, how many sites were up and how many sites were down, we went to the website and the numbers were wildly off the numbers that we had at our EOC, where we were getting it straight from the utility in person. Now, if I'm an average consumer, an average person who lives there, I go to the website thinking it's telling me what I need to know, and it's completely
Especially
inaccurate.
Since you don't have a phone number you can talk to a human being for. Now, I'm going to ask this next question to Governor Murphy, next segment in New Jersey, who, like you, wasn't here when Sandy hit, at least in the executive capacity, okay? But you remember, they said, hey, we found religion here. We're going to make sure this never happens again. We're going to have the Moreland commissions. We're going to dig into this. We're going to make sure there's better communications, better management, and all the rest. They do it all. I'm sorry. if I'm a ConEd customer 5 years ago and today, tell me what's different.
It happened again. What
So
happened,
my point is,
happened again.
we've now established that the utility can't police itself. So what do we do different so that a year from now, you and I are sitting at this table, we don't just say ConEd screwed up again. Who makes sure they at least have a plan that's functional?
Well, clearly the official line of authority through the Public Service Commission, and the governor has great control over that. He's indicated he's going to use that tool to dig into this. But I think the senior management, I don't know exactly how many people at the top of that pyramid, but they have to pay the price. In other words, that everybody in an organization understands that the organization has made bad strategic decisions, failed to communicate properly, failed to run a proper functioning system of information to people. Senior people have to pay a penalty for that. I'm not looking to take bread out of somebody's mouth, but right now we're not talking about statistics. We're talking about a woman who has a disabled son sitting in the cold as we speak in Larchmont. We have a senior citizen in a place in Valhalla whose daughter is desperately worried and can't get to him now because of the snowstorm. These are real world situations. That's what fuels the anger.
With the time I have left, a little public service. I know you've opened up warming centers, but we understand they're not really being used. Is part of the issue that people don't know about them as much as you've tried to publicize it, or that they're open till 10 p.m., but then they got to go back to wherever they got to go?
Well, there's a host of different reasons why they may not use it. It's a respite during the period of time where it was colder. You know,
and for folks who don't know, at the county center, we have a big one. That's
we created one at the county center. Most of the local governments have them in local communities, but even when it's in your local town, folks haven't gone. I think there's a reality. Folks don't feel comfortable going to sit in some community center, even for a couple of hours in the day to get warm or charge their phones. A handful used it, most haven't. That's okay, they're still there. We're not going to shut them down per se. If we tried to put an overnight shelter, we'd probably be running it empty because the same reality seems to be the case. So what we have to tell people now is what's common sense. The snowstorm as we speak is fully underway. You're going to have to shelter in place. If your next door neighbor has a generator, if your next door neighbor, somebody down the street has got heat, shelter with them. Reach out to your neighbor. Let's just do the math here. 5, day 6, day 7, day 8. I mean, we're to the point, forget about food going bad in the fridge, they can't use it anymore. County Executive, we got a point here where there's legitimate health concerns. We're getting close to that point where this is beyond inconvenience. You certainly have people that are in health situations that could be in life-threatening situations now. 3 solid days of no heat and the house gets cold, you will crack pipes, you'll have thousands of dollars of damage. I hope that what I say never comes to pass for anybody, but that's the area we've entered now. We've passed the point of inconvenience, and we're in the position of real danger.
And we'll get to recourse later for some folks here, but my last question, I'm sure Andrew has one, is, okay, ConEd, I know this sounds like a punchline, when are they going to get these people power again? And by the way, we say ConEd, it's also north of you too. You got Orange and Rockland as well here that they're policing too, right? Yeah. When do these people get power back? They say Friday. Is that...
At this point, I used a phrase in one of my press conferences, the phrase that Ronald Reagan used, "Dovernai no provenai," trust but verify. I've lost the ability to trust, so the only thing I want is to verify, and our local officials are out trying to verify. Is the heat truly on in a neighborhood that they say it's on in? And I suspect if what I think is true, I don't imagine we're going to be back up until Friday and possibly Saturday, which is absolutely unacceptable, and there's a price to pay for that.
And the number of outages are going to keep climbing as the snow keeps coming tonight.
Right.
Do you know how the county's doing right now as we're a little bit past 6 o'clock?
As I was at the Emergency Operations Center about in the 4 o'clock hour, 4:30 hour, the number that had shrunk down in Con Edison to 9,000 or so is bouncing back up. And we won't really know until we make an assessment when the snow stops. But I intend to, go back out in the snow as I have every night and make some empirical assessment.
And who knows how long it'll take to get that power back on. You and I will talk more this weekend for Newsbreakers, so looking forward to that. Rich?
Ken Exec, thank you. And honestly, when I say good luck, I mean it. All right, coming up next, New Jersey also getting hit, obviously, by the storm, power outages, flooding, and a new governor dealing with his second nor'easter in just a week. Our conversation with Governor Phil Murphy straight ahead.